It's finally time once again to talk about a game that I have extreme passion for, New Super Mario Bros Wii. I got my Wii in Christmas of 2009, and within a year or so of that, I eventually got this game. This was my introduction to the mainline Mario platforming series, and I may be biased, but this is an absolutely great one to start with. You may have previously known me for my Super Mario World and Super Mario Bros videos, but without the game that I currently have in my hand, you wouldn't have any of that. Let's dive into the game that kickstarted my Mario journey. So this was the home console follow-up to the original New Super Mario Bros. On the DS released a few years prior. Instead of the Mega Mushroom, there's two new items that take over, the Propeller Mushroom and the Penguin Suit. The Propeller is this game's version of the Tanuki Leaf or Cape Feather. It's there to allow you to fly around the stage and access many different secrets you wouldn't otherwise. The Penguin Suit, on the other hand, functions not just as an ice variant of the Fire Flower, but also being able to slide across terrain, including water. Both of these power-ups lead to really unique movement that's only present in this entry of the series. There's also Yoshi, and he does exactly what you would expect him to. He can eat and spit out enemies, as well as flutter, which, just like the propeller, can be used to briefly fly in the air and discover hidden passages. I wouldn't say he's utilized horribly much throughout the game, but it's nice to see Mario's dinosaur friend once more. In regards to the amount of content housed here, the map spans 8 worlds, or I guess technically 9, since there is a bonus world with levels unlocking if you collect every star coin, but I didn't do that in this playthrough. Since I have so many games to get through, I tried to come up with a goal that I thought was a pretty decent compromise. Beating the game without entering a single warp cannon. In the speedrun world, this is dubbed cannonless, not to be confused with a Mario 64 trick that you've maybe heard, but I digress. It starts off with a celebration of Princess Peach's birthday, but there's a secret hidden inside the giant cake brought in. The Koopa kids all pop out and swipe the princess on their way out. So now it's time to embark on a journey to save her, a typical Mario plot. World 1 is a general introduction to what you'll expect. You get a propeller in the first stage, and then a great chance at some 1-ups via a star in the next. Yoshi even makes his appearance one stage past that. This level is where you get the secret if you were going for warp cannons, but I was committed to a lengthier experience. Each world also has a fortress located halfway through, and then a proper castle as the ending. Every so often you'll come across these Toad Bubble mini-games. They just consist of grabbing all the Toad heads while avoiding taking damage. This isn't essential to the game at all, and you'll only get thrown into one if you cross paths with an enemy on the overworld. At the very least, you are rewarded with mushrooms for your troubles if you do happen to come across this. Also, make sure not to confuse this with the mushroom houses you can visit. I had no reason to on my playthrough, but if you want even more power-ups, then there you go. Anyways, yeah, the first world is just a bit of a sample platter of what's to come. You got a water stage, another with rolling hills, and then ending with a castle ran by Larry that is full of cogs. World 2 and beyond is where more consistent theming starts taking place, with this one being a desert. You got a stage where it gets steadily windy, forcing yourself to adapt your movement. You even have the first what I would dub dark stage. It's a cave that's only lit by fire snakes and bros. I suppose if you have a fire flower, that can help too. This ends with a castle featuring sections where you need to select the correct path. And can I just state how much of a waste of time these sections are? They aren't fun, and it feels like it was placed just to stretch the level further. I understand this is a nod to the original Super Mario Bros, which had the same gimmick in some of its castles, but just because it was previously done, doesn't mean it's good. At least in the grand scheme of it, this doesn't last too long. I just wanted a free reason to complain about these sections in Mario games. World 3 is the complete opposite, being ice-themed. This is where the Penguin Suit is introduced. I'll admit, I really didn't take advantage of the Penguin's sliding abilities. I was too focused on just pushing forward through the platforming. This section is guarded by a Lemmy, and while I'm here, I do want to acknowledge the fact that a lot of the fortresses and castles here are glorified auto-scrollers in one way or another. Hell, even a handful of the normal stages are the same. I would typically complain about having too much of such, but I kinda don't mind it here. Sometimes there are slight bits of downtime, but on the other hand, there's also many areas you still have to properly engage with in one way or another. Like, this stage gives you a propeller block that you can use while avoiding different enemies that pop up while on a rotating block, and there's also times where you can collect blue coins that will help you collect extra lives. Another great example is skipping further ahead to World 5. Sure, this stage is a bit long, but it keeps you engaged due to the fact that the platform will not move forward if too many enemies are standing on it. You're forced to interact with all the enemies around here. Anyways, World 3 has another interesting mechanic, a red switch. Pressing it will pop up red blocks in stages, and in this instance here, it's used to make a secret exit, which once completed, gains access to the final castle. This one requires you to throw bombs at ice blocks to progress forward, which yeah, it brings further downtime, but I think that's a neat aesthetic. Now it's time for World 4, the beach. This is the title's water section, which gives you a taste of all the sea critters present. This featured the first ghost house I played, which it's not the first in the game, but it's the first I was forced to play. And yeah, it's about what you would expect. These ghost houses are full of hidden doors and P-switches, all that fun stuff. I will say that the first stage that really gave me a run for my money here was the castle. It's full of spike pillars that hurt me many times just because of how impatient I was. Sometimes I'm not the best at telling my inner speedrunner that sometimes it's okay to slow down. This additionally is the first world to have an airship, which houses Bowser Jr. The consistent theme with these is Mecha Koopas, flames, bombs, and rolling platforms. It can be quite tricky, but once you realize what you're up against, it's not too bad. Bowser Jr. is then destroyed by taking advantage of propeller blocks, and of course if you already had a propeller power-up, that'll suffice as well. That takes things into World 5, the forest. This features that auto-scroller I was mentioning earlier. This definitely isn't the only one present in this world. Don't forget about the one where you ride giant jumbo rays. Afterwards, I got to give Iggy and his Chain Chomp a piece of my mind. World 6, the mountains, may perhaps be my favorite out of the late game worlds. I think this is similar to the first one in regards to it being a sample platter of many levels and mechanics. The first level immediately throws you into something new, climbing walls, hanging off ledges, and tiptoeing over rock. While this is all going on, you have to avoid not just Koopas and bullet bills, but sometimes these spikes throwing their spiked balls. The following stage has a healthy mix of rolling terrain in an underground section, and then even further into the world have to deal with a bunch of moles, but at least Yoshi is able to take care of those. You then get a bit of a taste of some more half-water level action before exploring another dark stage that is lit just enough to see what directly is around you. This wraps up with a back-to-back fight against Morton in the castle, and then Bowser Jr. and yet another airship. This time, you get your own clown car and have to knock him into the electricity. I didn't know Mario had the balls to do that. Quite impressive. With only 2 more worlds to go, World 7 is up in the clouds. It's all about being in the sky. You start off with a bunch of rotating platforms and sliding pipe shenanigans, and then you get to hop and swim through these floating water bubbles. The half auto-scroller that follows that up is a little chaotic, but by no means in a bad way. And there's another ghost house that has similar offerings to the others. Watch out for those fake doors. Before defeating Ludwig, I also had to get past these cloud dudes that just blow these giant clouds that obscure the screen. Nothing too crazy, not a bad level. Now it's time for Ludwig, who has a really cool fight here on these hovering platforms that go up and down. I appreciate that as you progress later into the game, the fights get beefed up a little bit. So now it's time for the final world, the volcano. The most unique thing here are these skull rafts that bob up and down through the lava, and your job is to just simply stay on it. Sometimes you'll even have to juggle 2 at once. I gotta say, this is my favorite out of all the semi-auto-scroller mechanics. Getting through that means it's now time to see Bowser Jr. once more. This is equally as engaging. There are these platforms with screws on them that you have to twist to move other platforms, and then you get paired up for the last time with Bowser's kid. Now he's throwing giant bombs, and your job is to ground pound at the correct time so that it flies into the air and knocks into him. A cameo of the princess occurs, but of course before we can see her for good, it's now Bowser's turn to fight. His castle has multiple sections. The first is a simple platforming area with tons of fire bars and potobos. Secondly is a vertical section with sinking platforms. Your job is to simply stay above the lava until a pipe finally reveals itself at the bottom. And now it's time for Bowser. I fireball him to death and hit the switch. So the game's over, right? Wrong. The princess is actually Kamek. It's time to deal with Bowser for real now. This final part is a left-right section where Bowser is spitting fireballs towards your direction, and you need to dodge them as they break walls, which will allow you to continue progressing forward. The game is nice enough to give you a propeller mushroom halfway, and now Bowser is making waves in the lava, even crushing the walls. All that's left is for you to keep pushing forward and escape. Pressing the switch, that's it. The princess is saved. There's a whole ending cutscene to celebrate, and you can even play around with the credits. That's a really cool touch. So that was New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Say all you want about how the new Super franchise has become diluted over the years of all their releases, but this was a solid console adaptation of what originally started on the DS. It sold over 30 million copies for a reason. This game also allows for up to 4 players, so whether you want to play solo or with a few friends, you're bound to have a decent time with this. As I already explained in the beginning, this is the game I originally grew up with that got me into the Mario platforming series, so of course I'm going to be a bit biased here, but this is such a fluid Wii experience. It works perfectly with the Wii motion controls. Spin jumping and propeller movements are done by shaking the Wii remote, and it feels completely natural. For all those reasons, I can't give it anything other than a 10, and it's a great way for someone to start their journey into the 2D Mario experience. I've realized that games that I rate a 10 will probably just primarily be games I already have a bias towards, but hey, it's my challenge, I can do whatever I want. I'm really happy that I randomly rolled this game so soon, just so I could share my joy of this game with y'all. I could talk so much more about how much this Mario entry means to me, but before I do that, I think I'll cut myself off. That's all I have for today. Let me know how you think this Mario game stacks up in the Mario platforming series. Maybe you have a different opinion, let me know, but thanks for watching.